Welcome to the Best Sports Betting Podcast, where we'll talk about reviews, previews, tips and all things betting related. Brought to you by bestsportsbetting.co.za. Now, on to our hosts.
How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. We've got a very quick one today as we've been doing our Euro 2020 coverage. And today I'm over on MG Sports Betting, where you can get a 100% deposit match up to 3,000 Rand on your first and second deposit. With me as always is Simon. We're going to be talking about the F1. We're going to be talking about the Logan versus Mayweather fight that took place over the weekend, some of the French Open, and one or two other sporting things. Not going to be too long. Simon, let's start off with the big one. I think that was the bout over the weekend, Mayweather versus Logan Paul. I followed it. I didn't watch the fight. I wasn't going to wake up for that what I thought was going to be a complete farce of a fight. It turned out it wasn't too bad. It was an exhibition match, and that's what it should be kind of treated as. Lots of guys were moaning about it, but I think it wasn't the worst showcase of a boxing match I've ever seen.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's always tough getting up for these fights, and I must be honest, I wasn't getting up at 4 a.m. either, so I just I watched a full replay of the match, and yeah, I think look, there are a lot of things to kind of consider here when you're thinking about, was this what we expected, was this not what we expected, but I think that not many people maybe would have expected Paul Logan to go the distance against Floyd. Obviously Floyd has a 50-0 record, undefeated in his career. This was Logan Paul's only second ever professional fight. He lost his first one. So it was interesting. I mean, what I really enjoyed though was the build up to this as well. I mean, I'm not quite sure what celebrity event the two were at, but Logan Paul stole Mayweather's cap.
Yeah, that was great. That was funny.
While the two were sort of sizing each other up in the build-up, which was extremely childish, but also really funny.
I'm sure it was all planned.
Floyd got super worked up about it. Yeah, it probably was, but it was just, I just enjoy all this rigmarole before these fights often, especially when someone like Floyd Mayweather is involved. But yeah, so for the fight, I mean, there was a referee, but no judges. As I said, I mean, Paul did stand his ground.
Well, he went 8 rounds, which is something to be respected.
Absolutely. I mean, look, he's admittedly quite a bit bigger than Mayweather. So if this was an actual fight, he wouldn't be able to take on Mayweather because he weighs too much more than him. He's in a different weight class. I mean, if you look at the stats, though, I mean, Floyd landed 40% of his punches compared to 13% that Paul landed on him. But Paul did at least win 1 round according to the scorecard. So, 1 out of 8, obviously not amazing, but the fact he did overcome them. And the other ones were pretty close. Basically Mayweather was scored to have beaten him by 1 point in all the other rounds. So, yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, I think you can't argue with the fact that Logan is quite a bit bigger than Mayweather. And obviously Mayweather doesn't often win boxing matches by knockout, but I still think that Logan Paul kind of exceeded most people's expectations. And to be honest, I think, he certainly exceeded expectations compared to Conor McGregor, who was 100% outclassed by Mayweather. So, I mean, there's a number of ways you can look at this. You can say, well, that was a few years ago. Is Mayweather finally on his way out? Did Logan Paul, just outperform his expectations? But it certainly perhaps was a little bit more entertaining and not so one-sided as a lot of people might have expected.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I mean, I've got a lot. I don't have a lot of respect for Logan Paul in the sense of as a person, but as a boxer, I mean, the dude has come from someone who makes YouTube videos and catches on cuck to just going 8 rounds with Mayweather. So, respect there, and he looks like he knows what he's doing. He doesn't look like wet fish flopping around the ring. But yeah, as you said, it was just completely outclassed in the sense, an unfair fight to begin with the weights and whatnot. But Mayweather's getting getting over the hill. I wonder if this is not his last one.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to beg the question. As I said, it's obviously always difficult fighting against someone who's 15 kilograms heavier than you. But at the end of the day, you got to ask the question: if this was old Floyd, if this was the same Floyd that fought Conor fighting, Logan Paul, would have he just wiped him out or not? It's tricky.
Yeah,
it's not it's not really comparing apples with apples.
No, not at all, not at all. But with that out the way, let's jump over to, I think, some Formula One, which I think I didn't follow the entire race, the Azerbaijan, and I think I'll hand this one over to you to chat about what happened there.
Well, yeah, I mean, Murphy's Law, just when we started saying that F1 was becoming too predictable, the racing gods kind of threw us a wild card. I mean, we had a red flag, 2 restarts, no shortage of drama. Sergio Perez of Red Bull won the race and made his first podium for Red Bull. But it wasn't as simple as that. I mean, Max Verstappen led for most of the race before his left rear wheel locked, and he spun into a barrier, which forced him to retire. But most of the drama was around the tyres in this race, because Verstappen was actually the second driver to fall victim to what would seem to be a manufacturing fault with the Pirelli hard compound tyres, because the exact same thing happened to Lance Stroll, who races for Aston Martin. So there's a full investigation currently underway into whether there is a manufacturing fault with those tyres. Pirelli denied it and said, oh, well, there must have been debris on the track which cut the tyres up, causing the racers the drivers to crash and so on. But that doesn't look likely, because they've reviewed footage and so on, and obviously there were crashes and debris, but it looks like they didn't go over any of that. So it looks like there's a massive problem with those tires, so that's quite interesting. I mean, just from the race perspective, I mean, Vettel, who recently moved from Ferrari to Aston Martin, he came second in this race, which is really quite an achievement. Obviously, with all the antics going on. Yeah, I mean, that's Aston Martin's first podium, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if it's their last of the season. He was voted racer of the day by F1 fans, and I can't disagree with that. But Hamilton, I mean, after a bit of a shitty race 2 weeks ago, he made a terrible mistake at the restart. As I said, there was a lot of crashes and restarts and red flags and whatnot, but he accidentally flicked a switch on his steering wheel that shut off the brakes, and so basically on the first turn he just went straight into the wall. I mean, it sounds like something you'd make, like the mistake you'd make at like like go-kart party, it's really just like amateur stuff. But I mean, that blunder actually, that ensured Verstappen, even though Verstappen crashed out, kept the lead at the top of the Drivers' World Championship. So I mean, that's really a massive mistake.
It keeps it competitive, at least.
It does.
So thank God for that switch. Otherwise,
I must say, I feel really, really sorry for Max Verstappen, though, because he was leading the race, doing brilliantly, had an excellent race, and then obviously he had the tyre fault, which was really nothing to do with him. So he could have really extended his lead over Hamilton and Mercedes, but obviously there's nothing you can do when your tyres lock up due to a failure. So yeah, you have to kind of feel for the guy.
Very unfortunate from there, but it sounds like an action-packed race, and maybe I'll tune into the next one if we can get any sort of action like that. But speaking about action, the French Open, Simon, you've been following that very, very closely, and why don't you give us an update on what's been happening there with your picks?
Yeah, there's been quite a few shocks in the French Open already, actually. Just looking at some of the top seeds in the men and ladies. I mean, in the ladies, Ash Barty, Muguruza, Pliskova, and Serena all out already before the quarterfinals. So those are the kind of notable flops in the ladies' draw. And then there was a bit of drama with Naomi Osaka, who pulled out of the tournament after she was threatened with disqualification because she refused to attend her press conferences.
We had that with Djokovic a while back when he hit the ball into the stewards.
Yeah,
we had a similar thing.
Yes, well, okay, so same thing with the disqualification. Well, well, he actually got disqualified.
Yeah, he was disqualified for hitting the ball into the stewards.
He was disqualified. It was completely unintentional. This is a little different. Look, so she suffers from depression and anxiety, and she says that the press interviews are very bad for her mental health. But now, you see, I would have a lot more sympathy for her if she'd like discussed these issues with the tournament directors before deciding to just boycott the press. Look, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, press interviews are part of your contract as a sports player, and I'm sure there are lots of players who would rather just skip them. But rocking up is kind of part and parcel of being a public figure. So it's as much as I do feel for her, I think that the way she went about it, I think she thinks she might have just got away with it. Oh, I'm not going to rock up, and then they might just fine her. Look, she's the most high paid sportswoman in the world, so a $50,000 fine or whatever probably means nothing to her. Yeah. Exactly. So I just think that the way she went about this probably wasn't, she's got a lot of support from other players, not only in tennis, but Djokovic and Lewis Hamilton, funnily enough, and so on. But I just think that, I'm not sort of underplaying the fact that she definitely has mental illness, but I do think that, you need to, if that's your plan, try and discuss it and try and get permission or something, not just knock up and, so I think that wasn't the best way to go about it. But yeah, I mean, going back to sort of the actual tennis, I think, and it's starting at 5:00 this afternoon. We're talking on a Tuesday here. I think the best match of the tournament so far is happening today when Daniel Medvedev will play Tsitsipas. So yeah, I mean this really should be an absolutely cracking match. But I must say I couldn't quite believe my eyes when I saw the odds on Daniel Medvedev. He's 19-10 to beat Tsitsipas on the clay. Look, admittedly, clay is not Medvedev's favorite surface, but I mean he's the highest seed, and I think he has no business being odds this big. If I was making the odds, I would have Tsitsipas only very slightly favored over him. Maybe 4-5. 1.8. So I really like Daniel Medvedev at those odds. And the over 38.5 total games also looks like a very nice bet there. At odds of 9-10, I think this one could easily go 4 or 5 sets.
You can get over 37.5 at 1.92 over at MG Sports. Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
But Medvedev is 2.76, so you're not getting the same value on the winner there. But on total games, that's pretty good. I think.
I mean, I would be very surprised if this is a whitewash on either side, and I think that Medvedev's going to be much more competitive than the odds suggest, and very potential. I mean, I would not be surprised if he won either. So, look, Tsitsipas has been playing lights out recently, but I mean, Medvedev has the high pedigree. There's no doubt about
quality.
It.
Yeah,
he is. I mean, they're both quality players. But I just can't believe. I thought these odds I thought that Tsitsipas would be slightly favored, but I can't believe that it's under 1.5 on Tsitsipas. So yeah, I think that the safer bet might be the overs, and over 37.5 total games looks a very nice bet. But I also wouldn't put anyone off backing Medvedev, at around 2.8, 2.9.
Not keen on giving Medvedev plus 4.5 games at 1.94?
You see, the problem with that is the reason I don't like handicaps in 5 sets is because,
it's 5 sets, yeah.
It's 5 sets. Your handicap can get thrown out by just one wonky set.
6-1.
Absolutely. So handicaps are something which I do tend to bet on in best of 3 sets, but in 5 sets I just find them it's very much a gamble. So I always try to I prefer if I'm not quite sure of where match is going, I prefer backing the unders and overs rather than handicaps.
Right, then we have Nadal, who got through as well. He's the tournament favorite. He's playing tomorrow, and then Djokovic as well.
Yeah,
you think it's going to be I mean, who are you predicting here for the winners? Like outside of who's going to face Nadal in the final?
I think it should be pretty chalk. I think that, like, at this point, as I said, I'm not so sure about this game today, but I think the favorites will probably all win at the quarterfinals. So, look, I mean, if I look at the draw again, which I mean I haven't actually looked at in a while. I mean, who's he potentially facing? Nadal. I mean, if it goes,
I think Nadal plays Djokovic in the semis. But yeah, okay. Now I thought you might know that offhand. So
Yeah,
so
no,
no worries.
yeah, looking at that, I mean, look, exactly, Djokovic to face Nadal in the semis. I think they'll both potentially, well, they should both go through. As I said, Medvedev Tsitsipas is a really tough one, and Zverev will more than likely beat Davidovich Fokina. So, yeah, look, I mean, Nadal to play Djokovic, I think Nadal will probably win that, and then look, Tsitsipas Medvedev either way. Zverev could beat both those players as well. So it's tough. Having Djokovic and Nadal obviously on the same side of the draw is interesting too. It's not often you get that, just the way the seeds worked out this year. So, but yeah, I think that we're definitely going to have the best match of the tournament so far this evening when Tsitsipas faces Medvedev. So yeah, that should be a good one.
All right, awesome. And then I think that pretty much wraps it up. Is there anything else that we missed out that I've missed out on?
No, I think that's it, Rob.
We've covered all the Mayweather fight. We've covered some of the Azerbaijan race, and then the French Open that's going on at the moment. We've also just posted up, or it will be posted up if it's not up already, our Euro 2020 preview, where we pick our outright winners, a couple of the first round of matches, and our golden boot, and a few interesting group bets as well that Simon came up with, some very good ones. So I suggest you guys go watch that video if you have not. But guys, thanks for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to visit our site, Facebook and Twitter pages. Let's go make some money.